new finger pointing over the failures in the war in Afghanistan. The former Vice President Dick Cheney hitting hard at the Obama administration. Our Brian Todd is following this latest war of words that's going on. Brian, it's heating up.
It sure is, Wolf, and the title of Dick Cheney's speech says it all. It's called Concerns About America's Foreign Policy Drift. How's that for ambiguity? He slams President Obama for changing the missile shield plan, for pursuing better relations with Iran, and for what he called dithering over what to do in Afghanistan.
President Obama now seems afraid to make a decision and unable to provide his commander on the ground with the troops he needs to complete the mission.
Dick Cheney says it's time for the president to give U.S. forces a clear mission in Afghanistan and the means to achieve it. Since leaving office, Cheney's never needed much of an excuse to tweak the current administration. And a remark by Mr. Obama's chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel, on CNN's State of the Union gave the former vice president another opening.
And, when you go through all the analysis, it's clear that basically we had a war for 8 years that was going on. That's a drift. That we're beginning at scratch. And just from the starting point, after 8 years.
Cheney says when Obama's staff arrived at the White House, the Bush team handed them an updated Afghanistan strategy.
The new strategy that they embraced in March, with a focus on counterinsurgency and an increase in the number of troops, bears a striking resemblance to the strategy we passed to them. Now they seem to be pulling back and blaming others for their failure to implement the strategy that they embraced last March.
The Obama team says they increased troop levels in March after their predecessors didn't.
Given the fact that an increase in troops sat on desks in this White House, including the vice president's, for more than 8 months. A resource request filled by President Obama in March.
Will Cheney's criticisms increase the pressure to send more troops?
The Cheney speech could help to crystallize the arguments from conservatives, but I think the true pressure is coming from the general on the ground, General McChrystal.
Now, the White House said today the president's decision could come at any time. Clearly one of the most highly anticipated announcements of his young presidency. Wolf?
Brian, what did Dick Cheney say about the president's policies toward Iran?
Well, he said that the president seems to be just pursuing better relations for better relations' sake, and that diplomacy won't work unless Iran fears real consequences. But Secretary of State Clinton said this week the administration is pursuing a dual-track approach, talks and sanctions, and that while the door is open to Iran for talks, it is not open-ended.
Brian Todd, thanks very much. Let's bring in our strategy session. Guest joining us now, Don Barry's a Democratic strategist, has clients in the financial and healthcare industries. Mary Matlin, our CNN political contributor, the Republican strategist. 8 months, Dick Cheney and George Bush sat on the recommendations of the military to deploy more troops to Afghanistan, and it took President Obama to finally make a decision to send more troops out as soon as he took office, Mary?
Can you even say that with a straight face?
That's what they're saying at the White House.
It's one thing for the press secretary for the hack to
just make up. True?
It's completely untrue.
You worked for Dick Cheney.
The troops that McKiernan, the predecessor to McChrystal, asked for, a third of them were remissioned from Iraq. The following two-thirds, the Bush administration was asked to hold on by the incoming Obama administration. So that's dissembling. What the chief of staff said on Sunday on this network, that there was no plan, they had to start from scratch. The Bush administration, in unprecedented transition, handed them a plan. Again, the National Security Advisor said, sit on the plan. They adopted the plan in March, and they're still dithering. They've had the benefit of the consultations of the best minds on defense and foreign policy. They've had it for a year. It's time to make a decision.
You worked in the White House during the Clinton administration. Don, why are they still dithering?
Yeah, I don't understand this dithering. I mean, I think what the American people want is for the president to apply his judgment, listen to what the experts say, and move forward on this. And clearly he's going to do that after he's heard the evidence and made his decision. It's his decision. And with all respect to the former vice president, for him to be leveling a charge about dithering after the many, many years in Afghanistan when we didn't complete the mission, and the many, many years in Iraq where we didn't finish the job, I just don't think is an accusation.
Hold your
that
thoughts.